Welcome back to the It's Your Story to Tell podcast. If you are just tuning in for the first time today, my name is Elissa. I am an abuse recovery coach with the It's Your Story to Tell Coaching Collective. And for the month of February, I have been working hard to release a workshop that I am calling Arise. And it is just a culmination of all my aha moments that I've had since leaving an abusive and toxic relationship when it comes to my healing journey. And when you think of February, the month of February, you think of Valentine's Day, you think of love. And so I have my partner, my man here, Victor, and we are going to play a game by the the Skin Deep, if you've ever heard of them, has a card game called the and it's built to help you have deeper conversations and better connections. And this card deck is called the Healing Edition. We have only played it one time, and we started the game in tears. So we'll see where it takes us today. But I just want to note before we start that healthy love isn't ever what it's portrayed in Hollywood or Hallmark. Like, you don't just get into a relationship and everything is just perfect. It is hard work. It's a lot of tough conversations that are filled with tears. It's a lot of repeating the same loops and the same mistakes. But the most important part, I think, is being able to, with your partner, go back to the drawing board and say, okay, like this is where we messed up this time. Like, let's start all over again. And I think like that part in and of itself of a healthy relationship is beautiful and messy and frustrating, but also, if you do have a healthy relationship, every single time that you have those conversations of, hey, I don't feel loved, or this isn't working out, or whatever it may be, after you have those tough conversations and you come together, you always walk away feeling like that much closer to your person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of the expectation in a healthy relationship, almost assuming there's two people coming into the relationship that don't have all of this trauma and all of this baggage that comes with it, right? I think that just adds more of a need for some of the things that you talked about, being able to have good communication and talk to each other, because as we know, like, there's just triggers.
There's so many. There's been a large part of our relationship where I've asked myself numerous times, like, are either one of us ever going to stop being triggered? Like,
Yeah.
because it is so frustrating.
Yeah. It really is.
But I think that, like, in any relationship, especially a healthy person, like, they come into your life to be your mirror and to show you the things that, like, you need to work on.
Yeah. Sometimes we don't like to look in that mirror, though.
No, not at all.
It's not always fun, but it's always worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the hardest things that I have done, but it is one of the most rewarding things that I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
Beside motherhood,
Mm-hmm.
I think. Yeah.
So far, and it continues.
Do you want to tell whoever is listening today how we met?
Yeah. I don't know how deep you want me to get into that.
It doesn't. We're about to play a whole game that is so deep.
Well, we met online on Tinder, and actually, when we met, I was still exiting my previous relationship, which was also an abusive relationship, in many ways, in many forms. And we met and, went on a date at the beach, watching the sunset. And, I realized that, she was not like anyone I had ever met. And I loved that about her then and love that about her now.
Thank you. That is so sweet, but you skipped over so much.
Well, I didn't know how deep you wanted me to get.
So apparently we matched on Tinder, and we think that his sister-in-law, Ashley, actually swiped on me because we don't really remember matching.
No.
And I had paid for like Tinder Gold. So I could make my matches based off people who have already like swiped yes on me. That's how Tinder Gold works. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember matching with you either. But I also don't remember you trying to message me numerous times, because my favorite thing to do with Tinder is download it and then delete it and then download it and then delete it. Like, dating is it's just not fun in so many ways.
And for those sites, for women especially, it's just, I can't imagine it's a good experience. That's why they have things like Bumble, right? So
well, I didn't like that either. So
so I know that you did not give me the time of day when I was messaging you, and I, didn't think anything of it. I feel like that was fairly common, sending messages and not getting a response, or sometimes getting, one-word responses, and just continued to ask if I was interested. And then I think I asked you about Mother's Day and, if you did something with your son or if you're planning to do something with your son. And I think that was something that must have caught your eye, apparently, because you started to be responsive.
Because at a certain point, you have to vet those questions, those introductions, or whatever you want to call them. Like you can't just answer every, like Jan, our neighbor, when we have toddy nights on Wednesdays, she's always sharing her dating profile. And she's like, I don't know how many times I have to answer this, hi, how are you doing message. But you came in with something that was so different. It made me want to respond.
Yeah, it might have been hi, how are you doing at first.
Which is probably why I don't remember it. Yeah. And then we met in the height of the pandemic and the height of COVID. So there was nothing open. And I know that you were having a hard time trying to figure out how to ask me out on a date. And I think personally, this is the sweetest thing, which made me want to go out on a date with you, because I had shared with you that I'd never been to Trader Joe's, but I'd always wanted to go. And you had said, can I take you to Trader Joe's? I can show you the tomato.
That's my line. That's my line.
And I was like, how can I say no to this man that is so sweet and so adorable and so thoughtful and creative? And I know at that point, like, you were trying to do something in public as well, so I would feel safe. That was just how our conversation played out. But then I was like, actually, I know a spot that has these amazing sunsets. Will you go with me? And then I think I know that was the first time that we hung out, but then we just never stopped hanging out, and we just never stopped talking. And we have heard it a million times on TikTok. If he wanted to, he would. And I think looking back on the beginning of our relationship, you were the epitome of if he wanted to, he would.
Yeah, because I wanted to.
So you did. Yeah. Because I remember feeling like there had been so many times that I dated somebody and I had no idea where I stood with them. And you came after that period of time where I didn't date anybody. I had deleted all of my social media, all of my traces of life, basically, and just focused on my healing and all parenting and paying off debts and all the things that you have to do after an abusive relationship, especially when you're starting over from nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started dating a little bit before you and I met, a couple months before.
Mm-hmm.
And there had already been some guys that I'm like, does he like me? Does he not? And then you come along, and then there was never any questions.
Mm-hmm.
Never any questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was completely different. I'd never experienced anything like that. Never in my 31 years. Back then,
Yeah,
we've grown old together now.
that's true. We're getting there. Bodies aching and all that stuff.
All right, we're one slip away from a hip replacement.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that we've kind of filled everyone in on our background, do you want to start the game? Are you ready? Sure. The first question that I'm going to ask you is, what is your story of us?
When I think of us, when we came together, I think we had both been two people who had struggled extremely hard to fit into some type of box in some way. I think for me, that box was, a box of like success and wealth and, picture perfect on paper type relationship. And from your perspective, I feel like you were trying to fit into the box that someone tried to put around you, that someone maybe was successful in putting around you, because
I feel like that was more like a cage.
Okay, yeah, a cage.
Mm-hmm.
You were trapped. You were trapped. That the trap was sprung, and you found yourself in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were both kind of trying to find our way through those situations for years.
Yeah.
And so I think when we found each other, a lot of what we had learned from our past relationships, that we now know is not true and is not right, and was not how a relationship should be by any means. All of that started to need to be kind of peeled back. And the peeling back process was difficult.
So hard.
That's the part that's the most difficult, is you built up kind of like all these calluses that need to be filed away.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still filing.
Yeah, we are.
I know it's a bad analogy, but we're still filing.
It kind of is.
Calluses away. But as we continue our story, though, I think that those will eventually go away, and we will have helped heal each other, rid each other of those calluses, of those memories, of those triggers.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, probably create our own triggers for each other, but in a healthy way, the way that we can talk about them. But yeah, our story is one of two people who met that, we're helping each other heal as individuals and, in a relationship as two individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So
that is so much more beautiful than I expected. I expected a very logical response from you.
Calluses is beautiful. Okay, cool. I'll take that.
Okay, pull your card.
What can I do more of to be happier?
We have a couple of different versions of this game. I bought this game for you for your birthday after we first started dating. So I got the dating edition. And we started this thing called First Thought. And we would say to each other the first thing that came to mind. So I'm going to first thought you. And there's two. One is, we've already talked about this today, but getting off social media. I think that there are so many great and wonderful things about social media. The connection, the networking, the finding your people, the education pieces, the giving you a good laugh kind of thing. But then there's also this aspect of like humans in general were not built to have that type of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for, babe? The scrolling,
Scrolling,
the doom, not the doom scrolling, but the
constant dopamine.
The dopamine hits. Holy moly. What am I thinking of? Like the attention span. We were not built to have the attention span that of like less than a goldfish. And I think that really does something to you, you know. And I think that where you've been at in life lately, that in this moment, that it's doing more harm than good. And my other first thought is that, and you did a little bit of this today, and I'm very proud of you for that, allowing yourself to feel what you need to feel and to feel it all the way through. Because you and I have had talks before where you have said that it's really hard for you to cry. You could get misty eyed, and then all of a sudden it's gone.
Yeah.
Right.
Dries up.
Yeah. And I think that you've heard me say a million times that like dad taught me when I was younger that life speaks to you and you have to learn how to listen to it. And I think right now that life is speaking to you. And I think that is the answer to moving you through this period of time that you're in right now. Learning how to feel and to let it ride out. Because if you don't, then it's going to stay there and you're not going to move forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if you were intending to kind of connect those two. I mean, I think they're very connected because the easy thing to do is to distract yourself from your emotions with something like social media, right? So,
well, babe, how many times have we had a hard conversation and I'm a crybaby? So I had to get up to like blow my nose or whatever because I've been sobbing. And then you pick up your phone and that couple of minutes that I'm gone, right? And you're scrolling because we had just been in this very deep, immersive space. And then it's like, holy cow, like I can't sit here by myself. Like it's almost like, and I do it too. It's almost like you're scared of your own brain.
Yeah.
So you pick up your phone and you're like, let me just numb out for a second.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also an avoidant attachment style too. So it's more natural for me to not deal with those feelings.
Yeah.
Especially in those moments. But with distractions like social media or college football, whatever that might be, right? It makes it easy to just focus on that. And I would rather focus on that just because I'm so avoidant of my emotions that I can easily kind of push them down and push them away. And then surfacing them is not an easy thing for me to do. But part of that is probably because I hang on to those distractions. So gotta give myself that permission to feel those feelings.
Yeah, permission to feel. I like that. That should be like your mantra.
Should be the mantra of a lot of men, actually, but we won't get into that.
Oh, okay. I like that, but I'm going to pull a card on that note. I like this question. How do we handle conflict differently, and what's the advantage in that?
I assume that means like differently than past relationships.
That's how I read it. Yeah.
How about
we actually talk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be it.
Me too.
Sometimes we do a better job than other times.
Yeah, we're still learning.
We used to have couch conversations, and we stopped having those for a while, but those kind of
the couch
morphed in some ways. But I think it's different because I think we actually both respect each other and respect each other's perspective. I think there's a lot of growth there that has happened. I think there were some triggers there that we had to overcome as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes what I'm saying, either, through verbal communication or through my actions sometimes means something completely different from how I'm saying it or what I'm saying versus how you're interpreting what I'm saying. So,
well, and I think too that like we had to learn as well that sometimes to clear up whatever it is that's bothering us, sometimes it takes more than 1, 2, 3, 4 conversations
that's true.
for you to finally clear the air and to meet each other where we're at, or to hear each other in the ways that, you know, we are meaning.
Yeah,
that's true. To be, yeah.
Well, that's also very true from my perspective, because I need the space to process. Like I can't process in the moment. I'm not a codependent person when it comes to processing my emotions. I need my space to do it.
Yeah. Well, and you said that you're avoidant attachment, and I'm anxious attachment. So we've had a lot that we've had to learn and overcome.
Is it my turn?
Yep, it's your turn.
Wow, why are all the questions that I'm pulling focused on me?
Because life's talking to you.
How do you think I find peace?
I think that you're still learning how to find peace. I think that for your whole life, you have been living in a way that wasn't really designed for who you truly are. And now you are opening the door to meet who you truly are. And I mean, I could give some like response right now that like gaming, I think that is an escape for you. I don't know if it's peace though.
Yeah, depends on the night. Depends on the game I'm playing.
If Tom's playing or not.
Yeah, depends on the game I'm playing. Who I'm playing with.
I think that you're starting to figure that out, like when you started to join me on morning walks, that kind of thing. I think working out though is probably the closest thing to like peace that I've seen you do for you.
Yeah, very foundational for me. And being able to have the capacity for peace.
Okay, my turn.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, are you ready for this one? How do you find peace?
What? What is happening right now?
It's about you, babe. This show is about you.
I think I find peace when I can truly accept me for me and truly not care, not give up about what other people might think, because it really doesn't matter. But coming up in a space where, you know, I'm the golden boy to my family and friends, and, you know, everyone's opinion matters. How people perceive me matters. That's a really hard thing to shake off.
To break out of. Yeah.
So I think I recognize that's where my peace is.
I like that answer.
Yes, this is not about me. It kind of is, I guess, but mainly about you. When was the last time you healed through me?
So I have 2 very deep wounds that are residual from an abusive relationship.
Food wound.
My food wound. The fact that I always felt like, well, I wasn't really allowed to sit down. I wasn't really allowed to take breaks. Like how I proved my worthiness in my past relationship was to cook and clean the house and keep everything spotless and make sure that everything was done, right? And I worked and I was a mom, and you have shown me that that is not necessary. Like, do you get on me for the dishes sometimes? Yes, but I will admit I am not fond of dishes. Like,
but there's a big distinction there that needs to be made, though, and I'm not sure if you maybe are coming to make this distinction in your mind or not, because I think you said you needed to prove your worthiness in the relationship by always being, doing something around the house. And I think the distinction that might get missed sometimes is that it's like worth or worthiness. To me, they're different.
So I needed to prove my worth.
Yeah, you needed to prove your worth
in that relationship through those things.
But I think you were also trying to prove your worthiness of love through those things. Your worth and your worthiness were tied together.
And to be honest with you, I leaned on those things because a societal expectation on a woman, and I felt like that really was the only thing where I was at in my life. Like that version of Elissa makes me really sad because that's all that I felt that I brought to the table. That's all that I felt that I could provide. And now I'm in a place where I understand that like I am the table and like I allow and I invite, right? And so to answer the question, how I've healed through you is not feeling like I'm not allowed to take breaks, that I'm not allowed to rest when I need to. You have shown me that this is a safe space, and that is not a healthy expectation in a relationship, just to keep working like a robot. And then my food wound. How many times have I made something that I don't even necessarily, I'm like, we'll probably never make this again, like for dinner or
not very
or
often.
The time that like
not very often. You're a good cook.
Thank you. Or the time I think it was, I don't know what was, I think I was on the phone with one of my friends and we drank a bottle of wine together that night. And I don't know if we were just like going through some things, but I remember I put so much salt in the potatoes when it was so bad. And you ate them anyway.
You like some salt. But you got a black man. We like salt too. You like salt. That works.
But in the past, if I would have messed up something like that, it would have been the end of the world. I would have had to go to the store and buy the things to make it all over again. The first night that I returned to work after my maternity leave, I messed up a cauliflower crust for pizza and had to remake it again. I remember doing it, but doing it scared and feeling so tired because it was my first day back to work. And I think that really is where it started for me, because I loved like teaching myself how to cook. I loved, this one is so deep. I loved learning and experimenting, and it is a love language for me.
Yeah, you like to feed people.
I do. I love to bring people together through food. I do love that. But I learned that night that it's also a very dangerous thing. And
it shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah. And there were times where I would cook a beautiful dinner and plates of food were just thrown in my face. That's the one that, there were different instances too. There were times that my face was shoved into a plate. And so I think we both know that that is a very deep, deep wound for me. And I wouldn't call it healed, but I would call it healing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot better.
It is a lot better because we just hosted Christmas and I cooked for your whole family and I was so nervous about it, but like it was a good dinner. Like we all collaborated. It was so good.
It was good. Yeah, I mean, I can make a comment about preference, or I could, maybe go grab some hot sauce or some ranch, whatever that might be. I can offer help. nowadays, where I feel like in the past I couldn't do those things because to you that meant that you were doing something wrong and you're potentially about to be, you know, in a some level of danger
Yeah.
of physical or verbal abuse. So
it's like my walls just went up. It's almost like I would black out and I would just react. And I knew that I was triggered, but there was no way for me to just turn it off and to stop.
Yeah.
I've come pretty far, I think, especially over the past couple of months where I've been, you know, making food for the neighbors. Like that's new for me. Cooking for your family. How many times did I cook for everybody over the holidays, whether it was my family or your family? And
a lot. You did a lot.
yeah, it feels,
I'm glad that you are working through that though, especially if it's something that you love doing. I love eating what you cook.
Well, one of the things that was like so important to me is like I want Bram, my son, our son, to have this feeling like if he chooses to move away and go to college or when he moves out of the house or whatever, to have this feeling of like, man, like if I go home, like mom's cooking is going to be there and it's so full of love and it's this place that is like
mom's butter noodles. Meatloaf now.
Meatloaf is apparently a new thing. Yeah. And that's always been so important to me, is just that aspect of food connected with love. And that was completely stripped away from me in that relationship. So we're healing that. And the fact that I don't have to be on pins and needles, like I'm allowed to take a break, I'm allowed to rest. That is a birthright.
Yeah. You still apologize a lot if you feel like something's not going to be good, even though it usually is good. Just like anybody, though, sometimes you get distracted by life and burn something. Not the end of the world.
You have never been, though, like I'm like in the back of my mind expecting you to react a certain way, even though I know that that's not your character. And I did forget pizza one time in the oven and I burnt it to like a crisp. And your response was, that's okay, babe. We'll just order pizza.
Let's just order some food.
Let's just order some food. And I remember feeling so mind blown that that's the way that you reacted. Like there was no up and down. There was no explosive behavior. It was just, let's just order some pizza. I'm like, okay, let's order some pizza. But I'm going to need a minute because like...
Yeah, like you were anticipating something.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of, I think I mentioned it earlier, that we interpret things in a different way. We anticipate a reaction based on us coming from the relationships we were in. And it's not that reaction. And it's confusing at first, but then it's something that we kind of heal each other through how we act in those situations. Same thing for me in like going to hang out with the guys or doing game night, whatever that might be. You know, even bringing that up in my past relationship was World War III. So being able to say, hey, I'm going to do game night with the guys.
And now I'm like, bye.
Like, bye. Sometimes like, oh, I thought we were going to do this. But even then, it's not something that... Now, a fight that we have to go through for the next 2 weeks that I pay for in various ways.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's your turn.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay. When were you proudest of me? Is proudest a word?
I don't know.
That's what it says.
I think there's many things that I'm proud of you for. I think one of the more recent things that I'm proud of you for is taking your ex to court and just standing your ground, because I know that was very scary for you. I know that you had second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, eighth, 20th thoughts about it.
Days where I didn't even get out of the bed.
Yeah, because you were so scared of what might happen.
Mm-hmm.
Scared physically that he may try and come to our house.
Yeah.
Right? Like you were very scared.
I was.
And so I'm very proud that you did that. But I feel like since you did that, that has changed you a lot.
Me? It's changed me?
Changed you to know that you have that strength.
Oh.
To know that you can stand up to him.
Mm-hmm.
And that you are strong enough to protect your son when he needs to be protected as best you can.
And it's really worked out beautifully for a lot of different people.
Yeah, so far, so good.
It's been like a ripple effect.
So far, so good.
Yeah. Thank you.
How can I help you more? Or how can I help you more? I don't know if that's different.
How can you help me more?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that you can, babe. I think that I'm very happy and comfortable with the amount of help that you provide me, both physically. I mean, you weren't here to shovel the snow this week.
Yeah,
but
all right. Traveling.
I did it. I got my heart rate up.
That's good for you.
I think that I know that other people who know us well are envious.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that makes me feel special. I don't think that you could help me more. I think that we're both, excuse me, on our own journeys of like trying to help ourselves more. And I think that in the ways right now that I need help, I don't think you can help me with. I think those are me things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you think of something, I'm here.
We do need command strips.
I don't even know what that means.
We need command strips.
Oh, I thought you said man strip. And I'm like, what does man strip mean? We do need to man strip. I'm like, right here, right now? Okay.
What do you believe you have healed in me?
I think those are hard questions because I still feel like there's things that are healing, especially the big things.
Well, these questions are meant to be hard.
Yeah. I don't have anything jumping out to me at the moment.
Why do you think that is? Do you think that you haven't healed me in any way? I
think you already mentioned a couple. I guess those are pretty specific. I think that, us moving in together, and I think that I have been a part of you healing, like your safety in the presence of men.
Mm-hmm. Because I've said many times that, like, after I left abuse, I felt like a feral animal, just scared of everything and everyone.
Especially men.
Especially men.
So I think that maybe being the type of man that I am and the energy that I put out made you be a little more comfortable. You're
like medication, Wellbutrin, mood stabilizer. You are that, but you are that for Bram and I, because there's been so many times, and I've talked about this with my friends, that I don't think that he and I could have found anyone better suited for us, because it's like you are so calm, like your area of mood is like from here to here, and you rarely go outside of that.
Part of that is because I don't feel my feelings,
but for us, you bring this calming, this very, very calm energy, and that in itself is healing to us.
Is my turn? What do you think has the greatest influence on our relationship? What do you think?
What do I think has the greatest influence on our relationship? I think that the most obvious answer is the abuse that we endured.
Mm-hmm.
It shapes the way that we respond to each other.
I mean, it shaped the way we found each other.
It shaped the way we found each other. But I think more than anything, it's taught me what I don't want. And from the very beginning, we've always been so gentle with each other. There have been times where like we haven't agreed on something, right? And I've looked at you and I've said like, we don't talk to each other like that. I know that's because we're triggered, or sometimes you really do just like slip up and whatever. But I think that our past relationship is definitely what has. I'm going to do one more card. This is good for your little logic brain, your big logic brain, sorry. What do you feel is the difference between fixing and healing?
I have this tool, staying in like fixing in a male perspective, fixing something that's like hardware, right? I gotta use a screwdriver, or
a four thingy, or a one thingy.
Yeah. It's like I have this tool that's gonna fix it, right? I have the screwdriver, I have this hammer that's gonna fix something. I think healing is different than that, in the sense that healing looks more holistically at why something is broken or needs fixing to begin with.
Getting to the root.
Getting to the root of it.
Mm-hmm.
While it does kind of fix something, it fixes it with the holistic view that it will not need to be fixed again. While if you just fix it and you don't actually get to the root of why something's happening, then it's going to happen again. So I think that's kind of the difference between the two.
A fix is like a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
And a heal is like
that was one of the other analogies I had in my head.
Oh.
That I was toying around with. Yeah.
How does that happen when I'm such an emotional person and you're such a logical person?
Analogy type person. Pictures. I like pictures.
We made it through. Thank you for doing this with me. I was very nervous before we started. Before we hit record, you were talking me through it. I hope that we were able to show you that healthy love is out there. I know that when I left abuse, I did so thinking that I wanted more, that I deserved more, that I wasn't ready to give up on the love that I felt like I knew was out there. But I knew in order to get that love, I had to heal the pieces of me that felt so broken and so bruised and lost and confused. But at the same time, I hope that this episode, that this conversation helps you understand that once you find it, it is work, and that it's a choice.
Yeah.
And
you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say healthy love does not equal easy.
Never.
Like anyone who says that they're so much in love and their partner has never fought and they've never had anything.
They're in the honeymoon stage, or they've been love bombed.
Yeah. Something's up there. Or they're extremely great at communicating, which no one really is that great at communicating.
No.
It takes time.
Yes.
So healthy love does not equal easy love necessarily. And it is 100% a choice.
It is a choice.
It's not a fairy tale live happily ever after I saw you for the first time and we kissed scenario.
It's not a Disney movie. And I'm going to leave on this note. Bringing it back around to Arise, the workshop, and to loving yourself. I think that it is so important. I think it might sound cliche, but it is so important to know yourself and love yourself to a certain extent. There's a lot of people who say, like, you have to do it first before you go out and find a relationship. And I do agree to a certain extent. you have to have met yourself enough and to be self-aware enough before you can walk into a relationship and call it healthy. Because then if not, then you're just repeating your biggest trauma, whatever that is, in a different scenario with different people.
Yeah.
It's just a repeated process. So
you can't love someone else if you don't love yourself first.
Exactly.
That's not possible.
And you can only meet someone else as deeply as you've met yourself. Dang, look at us doing the thing. Okay.
Good job, babe.
Thanks. Okay, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of It's Your Story to Tell. You can find us on any platform where you listen to podcasts. Like, subscribe, do all the things that you normally do on podcasts, especially if you like this one. And if you resonate with anything that we talked about today, you can go ahead and find me on social media at the DV Survivor Sister.